Today, we're looking at a black ink by Pelikan in their Edelstein series, Onyx. Now, as below, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help me out if you check out the entire video. And if you're interested in other black inks, there's a link to that playlist down in the description. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, we start out with 3 standard papers, Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia. But let's start with the 90 GSM Clairfontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 2 seconds to dry. That's right, 2. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation and we didn't get it, and the smear test says you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then, a Noodler's Charlie was inked up, used for day, and used to take the notes for this video. Now let's look at the second writing sample done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. Almost forgot what the paper was. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 9 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 29 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation because there is none, but the smear test you likely could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and then it's put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this one is very complex as a green ink goes. We see this dark green line on the bottom. Now there's a lighter green that does push up. Then we get to a blue and at the very top a purple or purple magenta type tone. Very interesting that we have 4 different dyes mixed into this black. It's one of the reasons it looks so dark and rich. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's dunked into water, and that line on the bottom, very dark, very there, really made me think this was about to be quite permanent on the paper. The green pushes up you see it much darker there. You see the blue and still get to see the purple at the top, meaning you expect the blue and the purple to really move away. The third standard paper is 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 16 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation and we didn't get any. In the smear test you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I wish I could use this in a note-taking situation, but I wouldn't. We do see that it's got a little bit of blowout that's occurring, but look at the top of the lowercase h and the middle of the capital H, and I'm just incredibly risk-averse. So if you need to highlight, I would not use this ink. Water is lifting all of the darkest tones, but none of those tones that were left at the bottom of the chromatography. It's really lifting everything off the top, but not the bottom. This ink seems to have bonded with the paper fairly well. Pen flush isn't doing much more than water did, which this was really surprising me with the Pelikan inks. And the 1/3 bleach solution, while it's mostly lifting it, did discolor the paper a lot to get it out of there. Now, all of that aside, it only took water for me to get this out of my pens. Additional writing samples are done on different papers in order to change things up. And the first paper we're going to take a look at here is Leuchtturm 1917 notebooks. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 5 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 12 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us no color variation because there was none. The smear test says you could probably recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Edelstein's Onyx has a viscosity of 2.39, making this normal. The next paper is composition notebooks like you would have used in your lab class in science. The only bleeding that we see going on is at the scrubby, which in itself is not a big deal. We have no ghosting, so it's working pretty good on this inexpensive paper. The medium at the top has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 2 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows no color variation. We didn't get any. In a smear test, you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Edelstein's Onyx has an average dry time of 12 seconds, making this a little bit faster drying than normal. The last writing sample is done on crowd favorite and always asked for 20-pound copy paper. Yes, without a doubt, it does bleed quite a bit, but it does not bleed all the way through. It doesn't touch the page underneath, but you could not use the back of this paper to take notes. It would make both sides unreadable. So there's pluses and minuses to this one here. The medium does have spread to about a broad. It does have tiny little feathers all over it, but I don't see it as the kind that would stop you from using this ink on this paper. It has no halo sheen or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the medium. It does spread to about a medium or extra, or about a fine, so fine to medium here. It does have tiny little feathering all over it, but again, nothing that would stop someone from using this ink on this paper. No halo sheen or shade, 1 second to dry. The scrubby shows no color variation, and there wasn't any, and the smear test says you could likely recover it if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Edelstein's Onyx, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a nice red by Cross, cleverly named Red. So what do I think of Edelstein Onyx? This performs how I like my black inks. There's no shading and no color variation. I like it a lot. But it does cost a lot compared to many other black inks out there that might not stop me from getting a bottle, though, one day. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? This is very much a dealer's choice, but be warned that a medium flow stub might not put down a fully consistent dark black. I hope you got something out of this video, and come back tomorrow when we take a look at Iroshizuku's Yuyaku, or Sunset.